What it do? Woo, baby, what a day, what a day, what a day. Oh my goodness. Lot going on today. Please come in. I'm missing people. Hey, Miss Tom. Hi, all, please. On your way in. Hey, Reflections. Are you still here? What are we doing? What are we doing here, man? What are we doing? It's a lot going on. If it ain't Trump getting booted, I got voted against. Ooh, I think I need to start with Trump. Ha! Some of the Republicans finally stood up to him. They voted to remove his war powers. I can say they too late, but I'm going to just say, Lord, I thank you for whatever timing it is. Hey, Joe. Hey, Samantha. Miss Toms, how you doing? Y'all, thank you, thank you. I was on time, but I got one of them phone calls today, baby. And the devil is a lie. And I'm going to tell you this, that I got a call about my brother. And I just think everybody who took that shot, who still is eating a lot of the processed stuff, a lot of the traps in the food that they have set before us to depopulate us. They saying the chicken right now is what's being tampered with the most. I'ma say, it's because they know that we eat chicken before we eat anything for the most part. We, the people, of the darker shade of the 50 Shades of Brown. And, they're saying my brother either have lung cancer, pneumonia, and his kidneys, they said, was wounded. Now, I don't know what that is. The chicken breast, chicken are not that big. Well, I don't know. They were saying they was soaking it in bleach and pumping them with this, that, and the other. I don't know. All I know is the depopulation rumors are real. Yeah. So immediately I told my niece that don't let them cut on him. However God chooses to take him, if that is his will, don't do the cutting. Start on clearing up those parasites out of his body. Yeah. Gotta get the toxins out of the body. And when they talk about these parasites, they're saying, like they little monsters, like they got like eyes and like they teeth are, I guess to gnaw on the inside. I don't know, but it's like, oh my God. So anyway, I had to take that call and I had to process that in my mind. She said he weighed in at, when she called, she said that he was very skinny. And that she said he's like 115. I'm like, what? What? Yeah. So that's what it's gonna be on my mind. But I'm gonna start this up. I just wanted y'all to know this time it it was because of the phone call I got. And I want us to take this detox serious. Got to get those parasites out of our body. They send at least 80% of the illnesses is parasites. And I believe them. I saw them come out of me. So I believe them. And if you've never detoxed, just imagine how old you are and never detoxing. Thank you, Miss Tom. Thank you, Miss Tom. You know, one thing is for sure. He yeah, he has lived a while, and you know the old elderly. Why everybody trying to say I'm an elder? They are targeting them. And when I asked her, did he take the shot, she said he had both rounds. I said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This is about the first person I've heard say they took both those rounds. But anyway, God will be done on earth as it is in heaven. God will be done for my brother. And it may be time for him just to detox his body. Stop smoking. You know. Start eating right. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, so let me get on. Did I have the brother praying for us today? Do I need the brother to pray? Or do I, at 11 o'clock, do I need to just go on in? I think I need to go on in because I wanna really focus. What is this, Lord? They done made. I want to talk about Karmelo Anthony. Not one black juror. Not one. Not one. How is that even possible to not have one black juror? And I saw that and I was like, Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. So let me go over here to where they done found this, where is it at? Where they have said that this man have been voted to remove his power on this war. Woo, I know he hot. Now, I don't know how much time he have to appeal this thing. If he can, you know, what the second process will be. But I need for us to know. So let's get on over there. Screw his lawyer. They can't hide it. House voted to block the war. Let's go. Thank you, Lord.
Up again when they return.
Hold on. Hold on. Let's start from here. Hold on. Y'all get the likes up. I don't care how many people here, a trifling person tried to say today Auntie Fee don't get numbers. Baby, I don't know. I guess they looking at the beginning. They don't check the end results, do they? Boy, they sure be hating on Auntie Fee because they hate I be right. Let's go.
On this vote, the yeas are 215 and the nays are 208. The concurrent resolution is adopted.
Let's hear that again.
On this vote, the yeas are 215 and the nays are 208. The concurrent resolution is adopted.
Let the church say amen. Amen.
Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Amen. 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 Let's go.
On this vote, the yeas are 215 and the nays are 208. The concurrent resolution is adopted.
Y'all say, y'all clap. Woo!
Without Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Let's go. We did something
There
right.
you have it. The House of Representatives just voted to pass a war powers resolution to block Donald Trump's unlawful and catastrophic war in Iran. 4 Republicans joined with the Democrats to pass this war powers resolution. These Republicans included Thomas Massie, Warren Davidson, Tom Barrett, and Brian Fitzpatrick. You'll recall over the past 2 weeks, MAGA Mike Johnson shut down the House of Representatives because he feared that there would be a vote that would pass the war powers resolution. So he sent everybody home because it's a privileged resolution. It had to be taken up again when they returned. So it was taken up again and it just passed. Now it has to also still pass in the Senate. The Senate already passed a procedural hurdle regarding a war powers resolution. So now the Senate would have to formally take it up, but they have the votes in the Senate to pass it as well. So essentially, you have the Senate and the House rebuking Donald Trump in his unlawful and catastrophic war in Iran. And this comes at the same time that we see open hostilities escalating in the Middle East, Donald Trump violating the ceasefire and having the United States military strike in the Strait of Hormuz, in the Keshem Island area. We saw Iran retaliate by striking a airport in Kuwait, international airport terminal, as well as a military base in Kuwait belonging to the United States and the Kuwaitis, also striking a military facility, a naval facility in Bahrain. Remember, CENTCOM tried to act like none of this happened and that Iran's missiles were taken out by the interceptors, which we now know to be false. And Congress, on a decently bipartisan basis, just completely fed up with Donald Trump's unlawful and catastrophic war. Also, Donald Trump held this disastrous press conference in the Oval Office right before the war powers resolution passed. Donald Trump was saying that he's talking to Hezbollah and he's talking to Iran and things are looking great, and that his idea of a ceasefire in the Middle East is when things aren't that bad, but when you still shoot at each other. I mean, it was a bunch of incoherent gibberish that was very, very, very alarming just about Trump's kind of mental and physical abilities as well. I'll get to that in a moment. Let me show you right now MAGA Mike Johnson. Right as this vote was taking place, you can see him kind of running away from the press, from Manu Raju and others, when he's being asked a very basic question, like, why wouldn't you, as the speaker, want to join in this war powers resolution? Don't you want to assert your Article 1 authority, that this is a congressional power, the ability to declare war? Don't you want to, actually utilize your authority, or are you just like the Russian Duma? He didn't say the Russian Duma part, but that's essentially how I think we all view Congress under MAGA Mike, with a lot of these MAGA sycophants. Watch what MAGA Mike says here. Play this clip.
Check. Why do you not support giving Congress a check on the president's authority here? It's been 95 days since this war began.
I think it is a very dangerous prospect to take away from the administration and the
Never
commander
should have
chief right
started
now
the war.
ability to negotiate. That's what this does. It weakens us, our position and our leverage in negotiation on the peace in that situation. Operation Epic Fury is concluded.
Shouldn't you guys have a check on it? Why doesn't Congress assert its authority here? Its constitutional authority.
This question could have been asked at any time over the last half century when Congress has not passed war powers acts, when presidents like, Barack Obama were dropping bombs and missiles all around the world.
AUMFs for Iraq and Afghanistan?
This operation was
Gotta blame somebody.
successful. The objectives that were well defined were achieved. The president is now in the process of concluding a peace agreement.
No, he wouldn't.
And we have to allow him the latitude to do that.
Dragging it
I
out.
think a war powers resolution right now is
Just dragging it out and still lying. Don't ever want to take ownership. He don't even want to acknowledge that they're losing the war or have lost it. You understand? No, let's go.
very untimely and a very negative and dangerous thing for the country.
Can you talk about your meeting with Sam Altman?
Now, as I noted, Donald Trump was holding a press conference in the Oval Office. It's the first time he held a public event in about 8 days, and he looked absolutely horrible. I gave you my opinion, and I'll be clear, this is opinion speech. In my opinion, it looked like he had a mini stroke over the past 8 days, and I think there were other reasons why he probably didn't go to Don Jr.'s wedding and he couldn't travel. I'm just giving you my opinion, and I think that Walter visit in the 8 days
Iran was there.
that he hasn't been on any public events, I think something else is going on. I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, a reporter asks him, so how do you define a ceasefire, right? This War Powers Resolution passed. You're saying that there's a ceasefire, but there's a war taking place. You know, we see it. So how do you define a ceasefire, which means cease the fire, stop firing, move towards peace? Watch Donald Trump's kind of rambling, incoherent, and just awful answer. Here, play this clip.
How do you define ceasefire? How do you define ceasefire?
What?
Pretty much the way it is. It's a different part of the world.
What? Oh, them eyes is puffy. They look like he, you know, like his eyes is black.
And I'd say in that part
They
of the
look
world,
reptilianish. They look reptilianish. Hello, does it? Them ain't the same eyes. Do he not look like a reptile? Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at old Humpty Dump.
Pretty much the way it is. It's a different part of the world. You know, I'd say in that part of the world, ceasefires when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
More from
What?
Part of the world. You know, I'd say in that part of
How do you define ceasefire?
pretty much the way it is. It's a different part of the world. You know, I'd say in that part of the world.
Did he ask them
when
how
you're
does he define? What did he ask them? What was the question?
How do you define ceasefire?
Pretty much the way it is. It's a different part of the world. You know, I'd say in that.
Y'all,
part
did
of the
he
world,
answer?
ceasefires when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
more from
Did
this
he
press conference
answer?
as well. A reporter.
How do you define ceasefire?
Pretty much the way it is. It's a different part of the world. You know, I'd say in that part of the world, ceasefires when you're shooting in a more moderate manner.
More from this press
Wow.
conference as well.
Made no-
A
never-
reporter
made no
said,
sense.
you also said last week that the United States military would be joining forces with the IRGC and we'd be digging up the nuclear dust together in Iran. So did you just make that up? I mean, what's going on there? Is that just one of your kind of fictitious stories that you tell? Like, why would you say that when that's clearly not something that's happening? It's odd that the President of the United States just makes things up. Tell us, Donald. Here, play this clip.
Oh Lord.
It's so stiff. Stop it.
You said last week that the U.S. would go in and dig out the buried nuclear material in coordination with them.
Right.
Did
That's
Iran
possible.
actually agree to that?
Well, it depends on what day you're talking about.
Ah!
They did agree, and then sometimes they agreed. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's one of the things we talk about.
Did they agree? Yes or no?
It's very overrated. I'm the one that overrated it.
Oh,
But
wow.
To me, it was important. To other people, it's not important because those beautiful B-2 radio, the B-2 bombers, they obliterated. You know, when CNN said
Well,
maybe it
why they
wasn't
still fighting
obliteration,
then if they're
they knew it. I mean, before the
obliterated?
pilots even came back home, before anybody saw the site. But then the Atomic Energy Commission went, they said it was obliterated.
Then Donald Trump says that if the Iran deal works out, you know, maybe him, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner could really work with the Iranians on some real estate
Is
deals.
Jared
And maybe they can build a park.
is Jared in the cabinet? I mean, is he? And on the administration. 1 second. I just cannot. It's
Apartments together. Donald, the Iranians don't want to build apartment complexes with you. They don't want to do what Jared Kushner is trying to impose on Albania, right, where he's trying to build a $4 billion resort in protected areas. Nobody wants the Epstein class building apartment buildings or real estate in their countries. Just get away. Get the American troops out of the Strait of Hormuz. Let's allow the Strait of Hormuz to be open and just cut it out. Cut it out.
Apartment
You look
complex.
weak and pathetic, and every day you look more weak and pathetic at this point, okay? So just get the hell out of there. You shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Let's play this clip.
You know, there's a chance if this really worked out, they could rebuild. You know, it used to be a very, very good nation. You
Y'all
go
see it
back,
covering their
friends
hand?
that used to, the old timers, they used to go there and they used to do well. They used to build and run. They built apartment houses and they built
He
all
covering
these
their
buildings
hand,
that are
ain't he?
hard to believe, right? But there's a chance that maybe that comes back. But whether it comes back or not, I think we have a very powerful deal that we're negotiating. The exact
And then he just started doing some of this incoherent ranting as well. He talked about how much he loves grass, and grass has life. Did you know that grass has life, he says?
Yeah.
Play this clip.
1922. Think of that. 1922. It hasn't worked. Never worked. From the day they built it, it never worked. But you're going to see that. And people are all thanking me because Washington's beautiful again. The parks are open. We changed the grass. You know, grass has a life also. Like people, grass has a life. And that grass hasn't been changed in 70, 80 years.
And then
Thank
again,
you, Jay
while
Harris.
the
Hey,
American
Manu.
people are suffering right now,
His voice
he
makes
has
me.
the audacity to pull out a chart, and he starts talking about how the reflecting pool is taller than the Empire State Building. Who compares something that's on the ground to a building? I don't even understand. It's like, did you know that a mountain is bigger than the I don't know, the biggest skyscraper in Dubai? Did you know that? Well, here's what he says. Let's play this clip.
I just had this done. I'm getting a first glimpse, but
Oh my God! I don't even
that's
want to.
your size compared. So those are compared to, those are among the tallest buildings in the world, including the Empire State Building, World Trade Center, Sears Tower, Chicago. So if you lay it on its side, you take 2 or 3 of them to fill it in. The width is almost 200 feet wide.
And folks, we've seen the photos right here of the Kuwaiti airport that's destroyed. One of the things, though, I should note that Iran claims. Iran says, look, we targeted the military base, which is right next to the commercial airport in Kuwait. They claim that the damage that was done to the international terminal in the Kuwait airport, which is right next to the military base, they said that was actually a Patriot missile that was being shot at the ballistic missiles hitting the military facilities.
Wow.
And that what happened was it was the Patriot missiles seemed to backfire and boomerang and then hit the international terminal. There is footage, to be clear, that suggests that that could have happened. I mean, I'll show you the B-roll of that footage right now. We also see satellite footage of where the military air base was hit. You can see the destruction of drone and aircraft shelters, which may have been sheltering drone and aircrafts and other things that was successfully targeted by Iran. Also, Iran successfully targeted the Navy fleet location in Bahrain, where the U.S. keeps a lot of Navy ships as well. You know, notably Maersk, which is one of the largest and holding shipping companies. You ever see those, those big containers on those cargo ships? Maersk, you ever see those? They said we're done with the Strait of Hormuz in general. Maersk suspends all Strait of Hormuz transits, says the Middle East conflict adds another $500 million a month in costs. They said the security costs are too much. We're just done with the Strait of Hormuz. We'll find other routes, but we're just getting out of there in general. So great job there, Donald. You know, and again, doesn't his press conferences look like Baghdad Bob? Do you remember Baghdad Bob when America invaded Iraq? And you had Baghdad Bob saying, everything is fine here. All of our losses are due to accidents. Everything is good, everybody, right? I mean, how did in the world did our CENTCOM become this? Everything Donald Trump touches die. I mean, here was the statement from CENTCOM earlier in the day. An additional wave of Iranian drones attempting to attack U.S. forces in Kuwait failed to impact intended targets tonight. U.S. Central Command and Air Defenses successfully downed multiple drones and ensured no American personnel or assets were harmed. I don't know how you say that when we know that American assets were harmed. It just, again, it looks so utterly weak. We have the video inside of the Kuwaiti International Airport, too. And then Donald Trump's like, you know what? I spoke to Hezbollah, had a good didn't know they speak. You didn't speak to Hezbollah, man. You stop making up that you're having conversations with Hezbollah. I don't know, is your intended audience just some of the remaining people who watch Fox? Is that who this is? Because when you're not speaking to these people, they're looking at you like you're a clown. And you're representing the United States like a clown. I don't care what political party you are watching this. This behavior is that of a war criminal. It's also just pathetic. It's just pathetic to see somebody, behaving like this. I think about the NBA Finals that's on tonight, right? Knicks versus Spurs. Like, could you imagine if, the Knicks or the Spurs brought out somebody who couldn't make the JV team and they were out there pretending that they were playing, in the NBA at the highest level? You'd be like, dude, this person doesn't even belong there. That's, to me, Donald Trump in the Oval Office. I mean, you club your way in there, but you don't belong
He does
there
not belong.
objectively. Regardless of one's political beliefs, you don't know what you're doing. You're clearly scared.
Can't
You're
answer
clearly
questions.
scared.
Hey, Richard.
You're scared to make a deal that you're going to offend your
Richmond.
base. You're
Lakeisha.
scared to escalate, which, by the way, you shouldn't escalate. You should be scared to escalate. But you threaten that you're going to do it, and then you don't do it. And all that demonstrates to Iran is that you're weak and you're scared, because you are.
You are.
And
I mean,
you've
thank God
reduced
he
the
is,
United
but
States military to that.
you're wasting,
and you've reduced the United States military to that of like pirates. You're
military.
bragging about being, we're pirate. Yeah, okay, great. You're blowing up little fishing boats and committing war crimes in the Caribbean.
Troopers,
Okay,
wasting their
that's how you
time.
want to project
And they
American strength.
compromising their
Not
life.
only is it war crimes, it makes you look so weak to our adversaries. Anyway, here's him talking about Hezbollah. Let's play this clip.
We actually spoke with Hezbollah for the first time ever. We didn't know they spoke.
We didn't know they spoke. We didn't know they spoke. Oh, Lord, I just fell back, y'all. We didn't know they spoke. What does that mean? Is he saying... I can't even... Can they speak? Are they... Oh, my God. They don't like speaking to you? What does that mean? Can they speak? Can they speak English?
So weak to our adversaries. Anyway, here's him talking about Hezbollah. Let's play this clip.
We actually spoke with Hezbollah for the first time ever. We didn't know they spoke. And they agreed yesterday they're not going to shoot. Israel's not going to shoot. We're just going to see.
So rounding this up, everybody, I think it's a good thing this War Powers resolution passed. I think it's good that these 4 Republicans joined with Democrats. I think the Senate will now get to the next stage after their procedural vote, and I think they'll pass it. Then it goes to Donald Trump's desk. I think Donald Trump will veto it. He has the ability to veto it. But it will send a powerful message that both chambers
when are they going
say
to
you're
snatch
involved in
this
an
power?
unlawful, disastrous war. Stop it. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
When are they going to stop him? Y'all, please hit the like button. I need for y'all to hit the like button, please. Ouch. I'm on my elbow. Let me go over here. I got one more. And then I'll get to Carmelo Anthony. That's set up. Oh my God. I wasn't expecting that. But anyway,
as well as United States military assets in Bahrain. Donald Trump has been scared into submission by Iran. In this disastrous Oval Office press conference, Donald Trump seemed to praise Iran for retaliating
what?
by striking a airport in Kuwait and a United States military air base in Kuwait, as well as United States
Y'all, where
military
y'all
assets
find this
in
man?
Bahrain. Donald Trump's like, yeah, I get why they did it. We provoked them. We did it. We breached the ceasefire. We attacked Iranian assets in the Strait of Hormuz. So, when you do that, this is what you come to expect. And Iran is seeing this for the weakness that it is. Also, remember, what was it, about a year ago or so, when Donald Trump did the same thing with the Houthis in Yemen? And he praised them. He goes, they're so courageous. I think the Houthis are among the toughest people
Oh my
out there.
God.
And what this is demonstrating
Lord help
over and
us
over
all.
again is that when you assert yourself and stand up to Donald Trump, he folds. He
It
submits
will
very
take a decade
quickly.
to
Now,
rebuild.
Donald Trump should not have pursued this unlawful and catastrophic war in the first
Are they
place.
muted?
Donald Trump should immediately withdraw from this catastrophic.
Who you talking about? Are they muted? Of course they will, Vito. Of course. Y'all get the likes up.
War because every day he compounds the problems and makes it worse. It's just a sight to behold as he'll make these social media posts threatening to end the Iranian civilization and wipe them out. And then Iran punches back, and Donald Trump quite literally curls into a ball. He's scared to death. Let me just share with you what went down, and I want to show you the parallels here with the Houthis. Iran learned this lesson. I mean, the Houthis are proxies of the Iranian regime. But let's just talk about what just went down. You have the Iranian foreign minister, Araghchi. He comes out with the following statement on Iranian TV. Any attack on Beirut will have serious consequences and will lead to the full resumption of war. MB Ghalibaf, Iran's parliament leader, says the Iranian people have shown in their confrontation with the United States and the Zionist regime that the era of threatening Iran without the cost has come to an end, and that any aggression will be met with a firm, proportionate, and regret-inducing response. And then you had Abraham Azizi, who's a high-level Iranian leader in their Parliament's National Security Council.
As in
He
deaf can't hear,
responds
mute
to
can't speak.
one of Donald Trump's advisors, Dan Scavino, trying to, mean that time is up. And Abraham Azizi posts this. Let's play it.
Listen, I am all for doing my homework on food. It's literally what I do for a living.
But with Thrive Market, and so what does Donald Trump do in response? Well, Donald Trump is asked by the press in a disastrous press conference. So what do you think about what happened in Kuwait from Iran? And we've seen the Kuwaiti airport. We've seen the United States assets in the military base. So in Kuwait, their military air base with the United States is basically right next to the commercial airport and the international airport. And both of those were targeted. We're getting new footage, and it definitely appears like an Iranian drone hit that Kuwaiti international airport. It'll show you what it looks like right there. And you can see the devastation 24 hours after it opened, I might add. And so, Donald Trump is asked, what do you think about what happened? And, here's what he says. Let's play this clip.
Mr. President, given Iran's attacks on Kuwait, this latest attack on Kuwait, is the ceasefire with Iran still on?
Well, there's a reason for everything. And we hit them pretty hard the night before, and actually last night. And when it was explained to me, I said, all right, so we'll do that. But we've been hitting them pretty hard, a little bit. So there is a reason for certain things, and there's usually a reason that sometimes makes sense. But they did something, not a big deal. We got it, we nipped it in the bud very quickly, as we do. We're the greatest military in the world.
Oh,
But some people would say they were slightly provoked because we took a strong action for a different reason.
oh
So
wow.
they were reciprocating it.
So then Iran doesn't let up, and Iran posts a social media video of the United States getting, destroyed by Brazil, basically. And it just shows, that the BRICS bloc nations punching back, fighting back against the United States. And Iran's like, if you're going to do your memes, we're going to post this. I'll show you what they posted. Here,
Oh,
play this
wow.
clip.
Oh! Oh my goodness.
Now,
I
let me
mean-
just remind you.
I mean,
about
all
a
you
year
could
ago
do
or
is
so,
laugh.
what Donald Trump said about the Houthis, just so you recall. Here's what he said about the Houthis being brave and courageous. Here's what he said. Let's play this clip.
Oh my
But
God.
as you know, we had a very good outcome with the Houthis, and we honor their word. I mean, they made a commitment, and we dealt with other countries that were close to them and their surrogates, and we honor all of their words. We'll see what happens, but I think, I believe that hopefully that's over with, and they'll leave the ships alone. Just leave those ships alone. But so we do. We take their word for it. It was, we hit them very hard. They had a great capacity to withstand punishment. They took tremendous punishment. And
Did they now?
you could say there's a lot of bravery there. It was amazing what they took. But we honor their commitment and their word. They gave us their word that they wouldn't be shooting ships anymore.
And then Donald Trump just looked like a defeated person in the Oval Office. He was lethargic. He looked sickly. He was attacking a female reporter for not smiling more. It's like, you need to smile. You need to smile. Here's what he said.
Smiles. She never smiles. She's a young, beautiful woman, never smiles. I never see a smile off her face. I see her standing there with hatred in her eyes, like she has hatred because we have borders, because we have a strong military.
Then he just started dropping his pens on purpose on the floor and making
What?
Peter Navarro pick it up. It was quite weird. I'll show you this. Let's play it.
Very much. That's great. Do you have any questions on this?
He then went back to his safe space, talking about crowd sizes, and claimed that he gets bigger crowds than Martin Luther King. I'll show you this.
And you'll see the ramp too. We're keeping the ramp, and that was for FDR. He needed a ramp, as some people would know. And in his honor, we're leaving it. I wanted to leave it. It means something. The other thing that we're doing that's taking place right now is the Lincoln Memorial has a beautiful reflecting pond or lake. We call it a pool, lake, and pond. All of it is different, but the word reflecting is a good term. It was built in 1922, and it was built out of granite and various stones on
Why
the bottom,
is he
and it never looked great because it's not really
negotiating
meant to be a stone that's
business
underwater
for-
for that much of a period of time. It's about 1.5 to 2 feet deep. You all know it well. That's where Martin Luther King gave his great speech, and he had 1 million people, and I had the same exact crowd, maybe a little bit more, but they said I had 25,000 people on July 4th. I have pictures of Martin Luther King's crowd, my crowd, it's the exact same, everything, but it was 70 years difference. The exact same crowd, but I actually had more people, but that's okay. They gave him 1 million people. They said 1 million people. If I had 25,000
Hey, Room Circa.
people,
Hey,
so-
Cynthia.
But these are the things that you get with it. Yeah, on July 4th.
Can y'all tap the like button for
a few
me?
years ago, first term. So
Why is he comparing
this
himself to?
reflecting
Ooh.
lake
He then just kept on attacking Caitlin Collins at CNN. I'll show you over here.
Just to clarify on what you said, excuse me, Mr. President, just to clarify on what you were asked earlier, is the $1.8 billion DOJ fund dead or is it on hold?
It's, I'd have to ask the lawyers, I don't know. I know one thing, the weaponization, are you talking about the weaponization fund?
Yeah, what's your decision?
The weaponization fund, as far as I'm concerned, was a beautiful thing. It was something I didn't make it, but I heard that, I thought that was the greatest thing because people like you have abused our people so badly. The fake news,
People
like
like you.
CNN, like the New York Times and like others, have abused our people. Wait a minute, be quiet. Have abused our people so badly. I used to be ashamed of yourself. You used to be a conservative. She was a conservative from Alabama.
How you know so much about her?
But CNN, in particular, CNN does such false reporting. But now they have new ownership, so maybe it'll straighten it out. I doubt it. But it's hard to straighten garbage out. But CNN has abused, and others have abused so badly.
I want to
and
say,
then
sir, how many times have you
insults at
told a
Democrats.
lie?
They're Democrats,
You lie every time you open your mouth.
Democrats. And then then the White House, then I'll show you that clip. Let's play it.
Iran nuclear deal penned by Barack Hussein
Yeah,
Obama.
he don't like her.
It's one of the dumbest deals I've ever seen. And this has no relation to Hussein Obama. It's one of the dumbest deals I've ever seen. And
Yeah.
this has no relation.
And now
I
you
like
giving up
these
more.
morons, these Democrats, DUM Democrats, that go on television and say, oh, well, this is just like the Obama did. This is the exact opposite. This is no path to a nuclear weapon. That was a absolute path to a nuclear weapon that you couldn't have done anything about. This is the exact opposite. They gave billions and billions of dollars to Iran, including 1.7 billion put into a Boeing 757 with the seats taken out because there wasn't enough room if you left the seats, with 1.7 billion in cash taken from the banks in D.C.,
Well, hell, you done
Maryland,
stole more than that.
and Virginia, and flown to Iran.
The first 6 months in office.
1.7 in green cash,
In green
and
cash.
then tens of billions of dollars given
In
to
green
Iran.
cash. What is yours? In coins?
Then he was holding up this weird
Shit.
sign saying that our pool is bigger than skyscrapers. And then he
Ooh,
shows
I
that
can't
the
with the
Lincoln
lies.
reflecting
Oh my
pool, if
God.
it was a building, would be taller than certain buildings in the United States. I mean, again, as we said on the Midas Touch Network, we just want health care and lower gas prices.
That's
what
it.
we want. I'll just try to show you how this is being perceived in the Middle East. And this is what Hamid Reza Azizi explains. The interpretation in Tehran is that Trump only responds to power. In this view, the more Iran stands firm and demonstrates resolve and a willingness to escalate, the greater the chances that he will back down. So Iran threatens to target Israel if Israel strikes Beirut. Donald Trump calls Netanyahu and urges restraint. Iran targets U.S. bases in the Persian Gulf in retaliation for U.S. strikes in coastal military positions. Trump adopts a softer tone toward the Iranian leadership. And then, they announced an hour ago yet another ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon and Hezbollah. And they said, okay, we're doing another ceasefire. I mean, you did one mid-April, you did one in early May, you did one in mid-May. Okay, you're doing one again, but they're doing that shtick again. Donald Trump gave that weird interview with the New York Post, and here's what he said about the Ayatollah. Here, play this clip.
So who's making the decisions?
Well, they say he is giving approval because that's the way it has been for a long, long time. His father and then him, I guess it's a succession. But we seem to be getting along quite well.
Would you like to meet him or meet any of the Iranians in person?
I've never thought of it, actually. It's a very good question. I'll think of it. Yeah, I'd like to meet him. I like to meet everybody. I'd like to meet him. We probably will meet at some point, depending on how it all works out.
And, lots of authoritarians are seeing the weakness that Trump is exhibiting and how you can just walk all over him. And then he backs down.
Because he don't know what he's doing. He have us in a war and he don't know what he's doing.
Putin threatening nuclear triad with Belarus and Putin trying to, I guess, intimidate Donald Trump and Zelensky, I suppose, but Zelensky won't be intimidated by those barrage of ballistic missile, hypersonic, and drone strikes in Kyiv that we've been seeing these past nights. Kim Jong-un posting photos of himself next to nuclear warheads, announcing plans to expand North Korea's nuclear force exponentially, inspecting nuclear production facilities. And you push back, and what does Donald Trump do? Well, according to Reuters, citing sources speaking on conditions of anonymity, Donald Trump is now officially cutting capabilities it contributes to NATO's standing forces, including fighter jets, refueling tankers, naval assets, and drones. Per the reports, the U.S. has told their European counterparts to bolster these capabilities, and the message was delivered by the top U.S. commander in Europe, Air Force General Alexis Grinkowicz. At the time of writing, it's not yet clear when these capabilities will be reduced, but NATO nations have been warned and basically attacked by Donald Trump. So, praising Iran for retaliating against the U.S., which you saw,
Right?
and then attacking NATO. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe.
I
Let's
think
get
he
to
crazy.
7 million. Thanks for watching.
I think
Love this video?
I think it's
Support independent.
no, let me hush. Ooh, Lord, I almost said something. Ooh, I almost said something. Okay, so let me go here. What time is it? Let's go.
Officers, people, you know, folks, let me tell you something. There are moments in the life of a nation where a single decision, quiet, bureaucratic, buried under headlines, tells you more about where your country is heading than any speech or campaign rally ever could. Now look, I've been around long enough to know that not every controversy deserves the volume people give it. But what's happening right now at the Pentagon, what Secretary Hegseth is doing to the promotion system of the United States military, this isn't noise. This is a 5-alarm fire inside the institution Americans trust more than any other. We're talking about a merit-based system that has been the backbone of the finest fighting force in human history. A system where boards of senior officers, your peers, people who've seen combat, who know what leadership looks like under fire, select who rises. That process has survived world wars, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. It survived because no one, Democrat or Republican, dared turn it into a political weapon. And now, more than a dozen decorated officers, combat tested, investigation free, recommended by their own service chiefs, are being blocked. And we'll come back to why they were blocked in a moment, because that's where this story stops being about policy and starts being about something much deeper. This is about whether America keeps its promise, that if you serve, if you sacrifice, if you earn it, your country honors that, regardless of what you look like. Now, to understand what's happening, you've got to understand how military promotions are supposed to work, because this system wasn't designed by accident. When a colonel is up for brigadier general, a board of senior officers, people who've been in combat, who've commanded troops, reviews their entire record, deployments, performance evaluations, leadership under fire. That list then goes to the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary's office, the White House, and finally the Senate for confirmation. It's layered, deliberate, and insulated from politics on purpose. Every president I've known, Republican and Democrat, respected that firewall. I certainly did. Now here's where this story begins. Pete Hegseth, a former Army National Guard major, a Fox News weekend host for 7 years, becomes Secretary of Defense in January 2025, confirmed only by the Vice President's tie-breaking vote after allegations of misconduct and mismanagement. He arrives at the Pentagon not with a management philosophy, but with a manifesto. His book, The War on Warriors, declared diversity the dumbest phrase in military history, and called for a wholesale purge of officers who supported inclusion programs. And we'll come back to that word, purge, because what he wrote in that book, he is now executing with the full power of the Defense Department. He didn't come to reform, he came to remake. And the people standing in the way, they happen to be black officers, women officers, combat-tested leaders whose only offense was serving faithfully under a previous administration. That's not reform. That's something else entirely. Now let me walk you through what actually happened, because the facts here are more damning than any commentary I could offer. Starting with the Army. In mid-March 2026, the Army's one-star promotion list, about 36 officers selected by a board of their own peers, was sent forward. These officers had been chosen to the most rigorous vetting process in any profession on earth. Hegseth had been pressing Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll for months to remove certain names. Driscoll refused, citing their decades of exemplary service. So Hegseth did it himself, unilaterally struck 4 names from that list. 2 black men, 2 women, on a list consisting mostly of white men. Then the Navy. 8 captains selected to become one-star admirals, blocked. According to the Wall Street Journal, 3 were women, 2 were black men, 4 were white men. And here's where things start to get complicated. Reporting indicates Hegseth was simultaneously trying to promote at least one member of his own inner circle who had previously been passed over for promotion multiple times. The Marines. 3 officers blocked from promotion or new assignments, 2 women and a black man. None under investigation. All recommended by Marine Corps leadership. The Air Force. Additional officers pulled from promotion lists at the direction of Hegseth's office. And across all services, more than 24 generals and admirals have been fired or sidelined, including General C.Q. Brown, the 2nd African American Joint Chiefs Chairman, and Admiral Lisa Franchetti, the first woman to serve as Chief of Naval Operations. No formal explanations given for any of it. Let the pattern speak for itself. Now look, I've had my disagreements with military leaders. Every president does. When I was in that Oval Office, there were moments I wanted a different answer from the Joint Chiefs than the one I was getting. But here's what I understood. You engage. You sit down. You talk it through. You don't punish people for being honest with you. When Army Chief of Staff General Randy George, a decorated combat veteran who served 7 presidents, asked Hegseth for a meeting to discuss why certain officers were being blocked, Hegseth refused to meet, wouldn't take the meeting, wouldn't explain his decisions, And then, weeks later, he fired General George outright, a man whose 4-year term wasn't supposed to end until September 2027. Let me tell you something about leadership. The moment you stop listening to the people underneath you, the people who know things you don't know, you're not leading anymore. You're ruling. And those are very different things. Under the law, 10U.S.C, Section 618, if an officer is removed from a promotion list before it reaches the White House, there must be a stated reason, an open investigation, a conduct allegation, something concrete. None of these officers had any of that. 0 open investigations. Every single one was combat tested, deployment proven, recommended by their service chiefs. And there's another detail you need to hear. Hex's own chief of staff, Ricky Beria, reportedly told Army Secretary Driscoll that President Trump would not want to stand next to a black female officer at military events. That's not meritocracy. That's something our country fought a civil
Don't
war
want to stand next to
move
somebody
beyond.
of color.
Here's the honest truth about what's real.
Are we listening with our good ear? Hit the like button, y'all.
You're not leading anymore. Patience given for any of it. Let the pattern speak for itself. Now look.
Okay.
I've had my disagreements with military leaders. Every president does. When I was in that Oval Office, there were moments I wanted a different answer from the Joint Chiefs than the one I was getting. But here's what I understood. You engage. You sit down. You talk it through. You don't punish people for being honest with you. When Army Chief of Staff General Randy George, a decorated combat veteran who served 7 presidents, asked Hegseth for a meeting to discuss why certain officers were being blocked, Hegseth refused to meet, wouldn't take the meeting, wouldn't explain his decisions. And then, weeks later, he fired General George outright, a man whose 4-year term wasn't supposed to end until September 2027. Let me tell you something about leadership. The moment you stop listening to the people underneath you, the people who know things you don't know, you're not leading anymore. You're ruling. And those are very different things. Under the law, 10U.S.C, Section 618, if an officer is removed from a promotion list before it reaches the White House, there must be a stated reason, an open investigation, a conduct allegation, something concrete. None of these officers had any of that. 0 open investigations. Every single one was combat tested, deployment proven, recommended by their service chiefs. And there's another detail you need to hear. Hex's own chief of staff, Ricky Beria, reportedly told Army Secretary Driscoll that President Trump would not want to stand next to a black female officer at military events. That's not meritocracy. That's something our country fought a civil war to move beyond. Here's the honest truth about what's really at stake. It's not just these officers, though Lord knows they deserve better. It's every lieutenant colonel, every colonel, every young captain out there right now who's watching this and thinking, does my service actually matter? Or does my career depend on whether someone in Washington likes the way I look? A retired senior military officer put it this way, and I'm paraphrasing from what was reported. Our officer corps trusts our promotion process. Intervention without explanation will cast a shadow that everything they have said, done, and written could be politicized in a career-ending manner with a stroke of a pen. That's not some Democrat saying that. That's a career military professional describing the damage already being done. We've got to remember what the promotion system was designed to do. After World War II, we built a merit-based system precisely so that politics couldn't corrupt who leads our troops into battle. It was insulated on purpose because the moment promotions become about ideology or identity or loyalty to a particular administration, you don't have a professional military anymore. You have a political army. And every authoritarian regime in history has started with exactly that move. Think about recruitment. Think about the young black woman at Howard University, or the Latino kid from San Antonio who was thinking about serving. What message does this send? When 80% of your officer corps is already male, 74% already white, and you're specifically removing the few who don't fit that mold, you're not building the strongest force. You're shrinking your talent pool at exactly the moment our adversaries are growing theirs. Now, I want to step back for a moment and ask the question that I was always trained to ask in the White House. Who benefits from this? Because in politics, when something doesn't make strategic sense from a national security perspective, it usually makes sense from a political one. Here's what I see. Hegseth isn't just making personnel decisions. He's executing an ideological project. He wrote about it in his book. The left captured the military quickly, and we must reclaim it at a faster pace. A frontal assault in broad daylight. Those are his words, not mine. And what does reclaiming look like in practice? It looks like redefining meritocracy itself so that any officer who participated in a diversity program, enforced a COVID vaccine mandate, or worked under a Biden-era official is deemed ideologically suspect. The word DEI has been turned into a weapon. Let's be clear about what diversity programs in the military actually meant. Equal opportunity based on qualifications. Making sure the board that evaluates promotions actually considers the full range of qualified candidates. That's not lowering standards. That's widening the lens. And here's the irony that should concern every American. While blocking qualified officers for being associated with inclusion efforts, Hegseth was reportedly trying to promote a member of his own inner circle who had been passed over by the merit boards multiple times. So when he says meritocracy, ask yourself, whose merit? And here's something else. Representative Don Bacon, a retired Air Force Brigadier General, a Republican, said publicly that firing officers without cause shows lack of character. When a Republican combat veteran says that, you ought to listen. This isn't partisan anymore. This is about whether the Pentagon serves the nation or serves one man's ideology. Let me tell you where I think this goes. And I say this not with any pleasure, because every one of these outcomes weakens our country. First, the legal challenges. Senator Jack Reed, the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, has said plainly, if these reports are accurate, what Hegseth has done is illegal. Denying promotions based on race or gender violates federal law. Officers who were removed from these lists without cause may have grounds for legal action. And once you open that door, once federal courts start reviewing individual military promotion decisions, you've created a precedent that will haunt the Pentagon for decades. Second, military readiness. You cannot fire 24 generals and admirals, block promotions across all 4 branches, and fire the top lawyers for the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Hegseth called them roadblocks to orders, without degrading the institution's capacity to function. Right now, key positions remain unfilled. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs seat sat empty. Command structures are disrupted. And this is happening while we face threats from China, instability in the Middle East, and a world that is watching whether America's military is led by professionals or by political appointees. Third, and this is what keeps me up at night, the precedent. If a Secretary of Defense can purge officers based on race, gender, or political affiliation without consequence, what stops the next one? What stops a future administration from doing the exact same thing in the opposite direction? You've just established that the promotion system is a political tool. And once that norm is destroyed, rebuilding it takes a generation. The officer corps will self-censor. The best and brightest, especially those who don't fit a narrow ideological mold, will simply choose not to serve, and will be weaker for it. You know, America has faced these tests before. We've always found our way back, but never automatically. It took courage every time. Harry Truman integrated the military in 1948 when most of his own party didn't want him to. It took decades of reform after Tailhook to build a military where women could serve with dignity. We went through McCarthyism when political loyalty tests nearly destroyed our institutions, and we recovered. But we recovered because people in positions of responsibility from both parties stood up and said, "This is not who we are." That's what I'm asking for now. Not partisan warfare, not screaming matches on cable television. I'm asking for the kind of quiet courage that says the United States military belongs to the American people, all of them. Its promotion system must remain blind to everything except competence, character, and commitment to the Constitution. Not blind to race in the sense of pretending race doesn't exist, but blind in the sense that it can never be used as a reason to deny someone what they've earned. To the officers who were blocked, your service matters. Your sacrifice is real. And the American people, most of them, the overwhelming majority, know that you earned your place at that table. To the young people watching this who were thinking about serving,
Oh my God.
don't way back,
Oh.
but never automatically. It took courage every time. Harry Truman integrated the military in 1948 when most of his own party didn't want him to. It took decades of reform after Tailhook to build a military where women could serve with dignity. We went through McCarthyism, when political loyalty tests nearly destroyed our institutions, and we recovered. But we recovered because people in positions of responsibility from both parties stood up and said, "This is not who we are." That's what I'm asking for now. Not partisan warfare, not screaming matches on cable television. I'm asking for the kind of quiet courage that says the United States military belongs to the American people, all of them. Its promotion system must remain blind to everything except competence, character, and commitment to the Constitution. Not blind to race in the sense of pretending race doesn't exist, but blind in the sense that it can never be used as a reason to deny someone what they've earned. To the officers who were blocked, your service matters. Your sacrifice is real. And the American people, most of them, the overwhelming majority, know that you earned your place at that table. To the young people watching this who were thinking about
And the
serving,
family, yeah.
don't let this moment define
Yes.
what the military
You're in the
is.
military and using
Let
it
it
at the
define
same time. Bless
what
our
the
troops.
military
Absolutely.
is fighting to remain. The strength of
In
our
the same
democracy
conversation.
has never been that it doesn't make mistakes. It's that we have the mechanisms, the courts, the Congress, the press, the conscience of everyday citizens to correct them. And we will correct this, because that's what America does when America is at its best. We come back to our principles.
Not
We
with a
always
Trump.
have.
Not with a
And
Trump.
I believe, I have to believe,
No.
we always will.
Well, it's hard to say that because nobody is acting like Trump. Who the other presidents did not disrespect us in our face like this and abuse. Hold on. Let me get to y'all get the likes up. I'm finna go into Karmelo. Y'all gonna double tap for me? Hold on, y'all. Get the likes up. I'm shifting gears.
The closely watched murder trial of
The
Karmelo
jury. All white.
And I'm Steve Eager. Within the last hour, a jury has been
All
chosen
white.
to decide the closely watched murder trial of Karmelo Anthony.
More than 500 people were on the list of potential jurors, but the jury will not
All
include
white.
anyone who is black, despite this case being racially charged. Fox 4's Alex Boyer joining us now. Alex.
Ooh,
Hey guys, good
wee.
evening. That's right. And I can tell you that a court spokesperson confirmed that there are indeed no black jurors on this panel. And I can tell you that
One who is black, despite this case being racially charged. Fox 4's Alex Boyer joining us now. Alex.
Hey guys, good evening. That's right. And I can tell you that a court spokesperson confirmed that there are indeed no black jurors on this panel. And I can tell you that before this jury panel was seated, the defense objected to 3 black women being struck by the prosecution. Now, the prosecution contended that it was due to the fact that the women were educators, noting that this incident happened at a school function with young students. The defense then pointed out that those were three of those were 100% of the available black jurors in what's called the strike zone, adding that the state struck all 3. The judge went out and reviewed their questionnaires and came back and said that the defense's challenge to the 3 jurors being dismissed was denied. The judge said the court found that the state had non-racial means to strike the jurors. Now, background. Karmelo Anthony, 17 at the time, is accused of fatally stabbing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf last year at a Frisco ISD track meet. Anthony was reportedly sitting under a tent for a school that he did not attend. Witnesses say the two got into an argument and Anthony stabbed Metcalf in the chest. Metcalf died in his twin brother's arms. Police said that Anthony told them he acted in self-defense. Now, this case has become racially charged, fueled in large part by online speculation, rumors, and misinformation. On Wednesday, attorneys for both sides got an hour and 45 minutes to question the reduced poll of these potential jurors. They were questioned on their views on a variety of topics, including race, how they felt about serving on this case, and if they would hold it against the defendant if he chose not to testify on his own behalf. The defense also tried to gauge if the potential jurors would be uncomfortable giving Anthony a lower sentence if there is a guilty verdict. I talked to a jury consultant about the process so far.
It's an excellent team on both sides. I believe Bill Worski has, he's a veteran prosecutor. He's tried some very high-profile cases. And then Toby Shook has been both a prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. And then Mike Howard is an excellent criminal defense attorney as well. And they, along with the DA, it's going to be a very well-tried case.
And I did speak with Allison Richardson before the jury was sat, so I did not have a chance to ask her about these late-breaking developments. Now, this high-profile case continues to draw supporters and spectators to the Collin County Courthouse. We saw another group of folks demonstrating at the entrance of the courthouse this afternoon. We expect that to continue throughout the trial, which the judge hopes to have wrapped up by the end of next week. And I can tell you that...
Hold on.
Now, this high-profile case continues to draw supporters and spectators to the Collin County Courthouse. We saw another group of folks demonstrating at the entrance of the courthouse this afternoon. We expect that to continue throughout the trial, which the judge hopes to have wrapped up by the end of next week. And I can tell you that 19-year-old Karmelo Anthony was in court today for the proceedings. He was wearing a suit with a tie and a purple shirt, which is also the color many of his supporters have been wearing. He did take some notes during the proceedings. I can also tell you that there does appear to be some minorities on this jury panel. Again, however, none of them are African American. Opening statements.
How y'all feel about that?
Back to you.
Okay, how y'all feel about that? Oh my God.
In Frisco, thanks.
And a reminder, Fox 4 will bring you extensive coverage of the Karmelo Anthony trial. You can keep up with the latest court developments on fox4news.com.
Okay. Let's go here. Let's hear.
A woman booted out of the courthouse after allegedly trying to tamper with the jury in the Karmelo Anthony trial for the murder of Austin Metcalf. This trial is capturing a lot of attention, unfortunately for the public. None of it is being transmitted over broadcast means like audio or video. And what we're seeing is the news is being prohibited from even bringing in their cell phones, so we're not even getting any live tweets or anything during the proceedings. Cambry was there. We also saw Savannah was there. We also saw Sarah Fields was there, and so we've got some big updates on exactly what went down during jury selection. But here's what Cambry said. I believe every news outlet is at the courthouse in Collin County today. It was packed. My parents go to church with the Metcalfs, the parents of the deceased, and everyone is bracing for the next round because of Karmelo's reason for stabbing Austin and the defense being now a size difference, which is why you have to stab somebody in the chest and kill them while they die in their brother's arms. So she posted that, and the way that this is all being conducted apparently is you have some people.
He didn't die in his arms. He ran. Remember, he said he ran, and he didn't see him do it. So he said. So how did he die in his arms? And typically, when somebody passes away, they leave them there. You know, cover them up, and then the coroners come, right? Why was he taken to the hospital? How did he die in his arms on the field, but then died at the hospital? Okay.
And then there's a media viewing room, and the media is sitting in this viewing room. And to share what that sounded like is Sarah Fields. But we have Savannah Hernandez, who is outside. She's reporting for Frontline's TPUSA, and they report that jury selection began. One woman was already removed from the courthouse after she was allegedly trying to film the potential jurors. Protesters supporting both Anthony and Austin Metcalf, the victim, gathered outside the courthouse. Strict media rules have been implemented to protect the integrity of the trial. Anthony, of course, charged with first-degree murder, fatally stabbing Austin Metcalf, and he admitted he did it. His only argument now is self-defense. Yes, I did the thing, but I was justified in doing the thing, therefore I'm not criminally liable. He has been on house arrest. He had a $1 million bond, but then they reduced that down to $250,000 for whatever reason. Anthony has already admitted to stabbing him. The trial is not about that. It's about self-defense. If convicted, he's ineligible for the death penalty. He was 17, but could face the maximum sentence of life in prison. Here's what Savannah said outside the courthouse explaining the scene there in Texas.
This is Savannah Hernandez in front of the Collin County Courthouse in McKinney, Texas for day one of the Karmelo Anthony trial. Now today and tomorrow is jury selection, and opening arguments for this trial are not until Thursday if the jury can be selected on time. Now to give you guys an idea of what has already happened so far, this morning you had somebody who was kicked out of the courthouse for trying to film potential jurors, and you already had protesters here on behalf of both Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony, with the protesters for Karmelo Anthony coming out in greater numbers. Now, some quick pointers on this trial. What is not being discussed is whether or not Karmelo Anthony actually murdered Austin Metcalf. He has already admitted to that, stating that he acted in self-defense. But what is being debated is whether or not Karmelo Anthony acted in self-defense or whether he committed murder. Now, interesting caveat as well, because Karmelo Anthony was only 17 years old when the killing occurred, he is ineligible for the death penalty. So even if he is found guilty, the maximum sentence that he's going to get is life in prison. Now, Karmelo Anthony is already facing a first-degree murder charge and was initially held on a $1 million bond.
Crazy.
He did petition to get reduced to $250,000. He cited financial difficulties, and a Collin County judge ended up reducing that for him. So he has since been on house arrest and out on bond after being issued that. Now, a lot of the controversy in this case did surround the GoFundMe that was created by Karmelo Anthony's family. Now, the family raised over $500,000, and it was found out that they were living in a home that was almost $1 million. A neighbor alleged that they had bought a new vehicle, and a family spokesperson stated that they were going to be utilizing these funds for security, legal defense, and also for the fight against white supremacy, stating that the criticism, the harassment, and threats that Karmelo Anthony were receiving after the stabbing incident were a direct result of white supremacy and racism in the nation. Now, simultaneously, the Metcalf family was also dealing with quite a bit of harassment and threats as well, and they were swatted 3 separate times, just to give you guys a reminder of what happened in the lead up to this case. Now, again, there have been extremely strict rules imposed on the media for this trial, and just to give you guys an idea of how secure they are trying to keep the courthouse grounds, the entire road behind me has been blocked off. They have specific places for protesters. There's also a strict curfew, and nobody can be on courthouse grounds from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. a.m. And law enforcement has also secured a separate entrance for Karmelo Anthony and his family to exit and enter the courtroom. So an idea of, again, not only the strict gag order that has been put in place by this judge, the strict media rules, but also the other levels of precaution that are being taken to ensure that everybody in the courthouse and around the courthouse is safe and protected. So keep following along all week because I will be on the ground covering this trial. Keep following me for more updates.
Amazing. Thank you, Savannah Hernandez, and she's over at Sav Says on
Y'all, what
X,
are we
and they're
thinking?
also
Please
posting
hit the
from
like
Frontline's
buttons.
TPUSA
Do I need to
main
pause?
account.
Do I
And
know? Do I need to go to some music? Can we get the likes up? I don't care how many people in here. Can we get the likes up? Double tap the face of your screen if you're listening on your phone device, or hit those three dots at the top right corner end. Come on. The quicker we get the likes up, the quicker we can resume. This is, what are y'all thinking about? No blacks. What? Let me hear
there
you.
will be a lot more to come, no doubt about it. Now, another person who is there inside is Sarah Fields. She's at Sarah is Censored, and she says in day one, she's got a lot of updates. She went into the courtroom, took a bunch of notes, and then came back and shared this with us after the close of day one. Said, I arrived at the Collin County Courthouse at approximately 6:30 a.m. for day one of the Karmelo Anthony trial. Now, the first thing that became apparent was security. Everyone entering the courthouse had to pass through screening. Cell phones and electronic devices were prohibited. The only items I brought with me were a notepad, a pen, and my sunglasses. So not even going to get any live tweeting from the media room. After passing through security, I made my way toward the courtroom area. The courthouse features a large, wide hallway leading to the jury assembly area. It was packed. There were so many potential jurors and members of the public present that you could not see the end of the hallway. Just before reaching the jury assembly area, there is a left turn into the ceremonial courtroom, which serves as the public viewing room. It holds roughly 60 people in the gallery. We were among the first to arrive, but the doors were locked. Several members of the sheriff's department were stationed outside. One deputy was carrying a suppressed AR rifle chambered in 9mm. While we waited, a heavy-set man wearing a Hawaiian shirt repeatedly stared in our direction, leering at them. At one point, he sat very close to us. As he walked past me, he quietly said the word, "Demon, demon." As more people arrived, the crowd continued to grow. Several people who claimed to be from California arrived, wearing purple shirts, purple hoodies, jeans, and purple do-rags wrapped around their heads. Others wore tank tops, shorts, hoodies, and baseball caps, and other casual attire that appeared inconsistent with what most people would consider courtroom business attire. And purple is Karmelo's favorite color. That's nice. Now, the tension in the hallway was palpable. You could almost cut it with a knife. And let's pause there and just go back to this video. Was she describing these ladies who were there protesting right here with the purple stuff? And just notice the difference between these two crowds. So you've got this group of people in favor of Karmelo Anthony with their Karmelo Anthony shirts on, doing dances. They've got a bongo drum, and it looks like she has, what are those things called? Tambourines, playing some songs. And then on the other side, you've got just a somber memorial for a dead man called Austin. He deserved better, we deserve better. On the other side, they're doing like a celebration festival or something. So the tension obviously was palpable. You could almost cut it with a knife. At approximately 8:52 a.m., I approached one of the deputies and asked how seating was going to work. My concern was that if no line was formed, people would rush the entrance once the doors open. His response surprised me. He said, "I'm really going into this just as blind as you are." At that point, I made the executive decision to start a line myself. I walked to the front near the security table where purses were being checked and planted my feet. Within seconds, the crowd surged toward the courtroom entrance. The hallway against the wall became shoulder to shoulder. Most of the individuals rushing forward appeared to be Karmelo Anthony supporters. It was a tense moment. People were packed together so tightly that it became slightly nerve-wracking. I did not move. When the doors finally opened, I was among the first 10 to 15 people admitted into the courtroom. I immediately made my way to the front row, and then we waited for another hour and a half. At one point, members of the public seated in the front were asked to move because, quote, family needed those seats. We complied. And I'm sure the family's like 100 people long now. The situation raised questions in my mind. Why were family members being mixed in with the public seating area? I waited to see who the seats were being reserved for, but shortly afterward, deputies informed us that we could move back because they had decided to, quote, seat the family elsewhere. Not long after, someone informed those gathered in the room that the viewing screens would likely not be turned on. Jury selection was not really happening in a way that the public would find eventful. Jurors were being given packets, completing paperwork, and being screened for eligibility. At that point, I decided to walk around the courthouse. As I exited the courtroom, I encountered Karmelo Anthony supporter and TikTok creator called John Effect. He recognized me immediately. We spoke briefly and shook hands. He was professionally dressed and respectful during our interaction. And here's one pamphlet or flyer that was handed out. Murdered, Austin Metcalf, 2007 to 2025. On April 2nd, Austin Metcalf, 17-year-old student at Memorial High, was fatally stabbed in a savage attack during a high school track meet. Austin's murderer has subsequently been released from jail just hours after a judge reduced his bond from $1 million to $250,000. Very nice benefit for him that is often not afforded to people like, Kyle Rittenhouse. But in the days following the incident, Austin's family has faced harassment and received swatting calls, with SWAT teams responding to their home. Republican Governor Greg Abbott has yet to make a statement about the case, saying white children are victimized daily, and America's anti-white system denies us the right to collectively demand justice. NOVA, N-O-V-A, stands in solidarity with all victims of anti-white violence, and we demand justice for Austin. Now, this is a nonprofit organization built from a national network of volunteer communities, associated projects. We seek to build a nation within a nation in order to provide community, security, opportunity, and advocacy to those who recognize the absence of those nation-defining features in the current status quo. Posterity, integrity, security, that flyer handed out during the trial. Now, part two is, after meeting John and walking out of the courtroom area, I passed directly by Dominique Alexander, one of the individuals on Karmelo Anthony's legal team. He saw me, but he said nothing. In fact, he almost seemed perplexed as I walked by. A short time later, I witnessed sheriff deputies escorting an African-American woman out of the courthouse hallway. She was wearing a pink shirt with lace sleeves. Deputies were accusing her of jury tampering. I later learned she was allegedly connected to the Anthony family and had reportedly been caught recording members of the jury pool. Outside the courthouse, the atmosphere was just as interesting. Several supporters of Karmelo Anthony were live streaming on TikTok and wearing Karmelo-themed shirts and banging their bongo drums. There were also multiple members of the Black Panther movement present. In addition, there's a group called NOVA, distributing flyers. They said they stand in solidarity with all victims of anti-white violence. When I asked Jeff Metcalf about the group. He told me, I don't know who they are. By approximately 11 a.m., we decided to leave. Nothing was taking place inside the viewing courtroom. The screens remained off. Nobody could see anything. There were no proceedings being shown to the public. Day one ultimately consisted of juror processing questionnaires and administrative matters, and so from a courtroom perspective, it was largely uneventful. From an observational perspective, however, it was interesting. And at least one individual was escorted out over allegations of jury tampering. So she'll be back for a continuation of the jury selection. Hopefully the pool will be much more narrowly whittled down. And based on my observation throughout the morning, the crowd appeared to be overwhelmingly around 95% of Karmelo Anthony supporters. Wild. So that is the report from Sarah Fields, and maybe we'll see some more bongo tambourine ladies throughout the rest of the week, singing their songs of justice or whatever they're doing. So, trial underway, and it's going to just be a brutal slog, no doubt about it.
Hold on. Do I want court TV? That's not who I had. Lights up, please. I got, I think, one more.
It may be the biggest trial this year in Texas. A story of two high school athletes on a collision course at a track meet that ended with one of them dead. The other set to go on trial for murder. Karmelo Anthony is accused of first-degree murder in the killing of Austin Metcalf, and we're on the ground in Texas, where tension has grown in the community ahead of this trial. Was this self-defense?
Yep.
Or was this murder? Will this former high school
Hey,
football
Janet.
star go to prison as an alleged killer? We're about to find out. We're on The Case, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey guys, real quick, before we get into this episode of On the Case, I want to tell you about the app Upside. It gets you cash back on everyday purchases, like earn an average of $2. You wonder if a small rain shower didn't postpone a track meet in the spring of last year near Dallas. What would Austin Metcalf be doing today? What would Karmelo Anthony be doing? Of course, we'll never know the answer to that. But what we do know is that security is tight at the courthouse in McKinney, Texas, because of all the attention that this story is getting. Here's video of demonstrators outside the courthouse in McKinney, Texas today in support of Karmelo Anthony. There's actually a Give, Send, Go for Karmelo that's raised more than $600,000, and we've been seeing an influx of donations this morning with new attention on this case ahead of trial. Jury selection's underway right now, and I'm going to bring in Cody Thomas from Court TV in a moment, who's outside the courthouse. We'll talk through what we can expect this week. We have been told they've been going through roughly 600 potential jurors in this case ahead of opening statements. Let's go back to when this story first started, April 2nd, 2025. It was a rainy day in Frisco, Texas, and local high schools had gathered for a track meet. Austin Metcalf's and Karmelo Anthony's schools were competing in this track meet. Now, if you've ever run track, you know that teams typically have spots around the track where
on the book. They left it on the books
between events. In Austin Metcalf's case, he was with.
They left it on the books. Absolutely left it on the books. So I gotta hear, before I go any deeper than I did before, I gotta hear how their angle, because it's not up to Karmelo Anthony to prove his innocence. It is the prosecutors to prove him guilty. Law is law. But they intentionally got rid of anybody that's black. That is messed up. That is so messed up. You got a Making America Great Again protester, January 6th protester out there was protesting against this child who would have never been in that situation, would have never even had the bag where the supposed knife was had Austin not grabbed his bag. You know, people act like they don't understand. He did not have the knife in his hand. He did not even have his bag where the knife was. He wasn't even holding it until Austin, bully ass, trying to put him out, grabbed his bag and chunked it at him or threw it at him or whatever. You understand? He wasn't premeditated. Hell, he didn't even have the bag in his hand. The bully had to grab it. Yeah, I just need to see the angle they coming. Because with nobody with some understanding, no, he did not have the bag. He had, they say it's a weapon. Some say it was a tent stake. It could be deadly. I don't even think he was trying to stab him where he stabbed him. He just stabbed. He didn't measure to see if it was his heart or not. No. He would have never even had the bag right there where the weapon was had he not been bullied, threatened. Yeah.
Twin brother and teammates under a tent, according to police. So this rainstorm comes in and it delays the track. Witnesses say another athlete who wasn't on Metcalf's team stood under.
He don't own the tent. Frisco ISD said that they don't have any policy that another student cannot be up under their tent. Frisco ISD said that they did not have a policy where a school student could not be up under that tent. So who made them the Metcalf's law and order? They don't even have a rule, a policy. So where did that come from? It wasn't the Metcalf's tent. It was the school's tent. And on top of that, there were other students from different schools up under the same tent. So why was he centered out? I guess the same reason why there's no blacks on the jury. There were other students under the tent that did not attend the school. Absolutely. So why was he singled out? Y'all get the lights up. And so it kills me that they keep putting emphasis on he didn't go to that school. Or did you check and see if there was a policy? Was it his tent? No. Did he have permission to put out one person up under the tent that didn't go to the school where there were other people? Why did he not, were the other people that was under the tent white? And then on top of that, the argument, the initial person that said something to Karmelo was Hunter. So Hunter is who got his brother pulled off in that mess. Yeah. Get the lights up, y'all.
The name of that athlete was Karmelo Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony, class of 2025, Centennial High School, Frisco, Texas.
This is video of Karmelo Anthony mic'd up for a football police. So this rainstorm comes in and it delays the track. Witnesses say another athlete who wasn't on Metcalf's team stood under Metcalf's tent. The name of that athlete was Karmelo Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony, class of 2025, Centennial High School, Frisco, Texas.
This is video of Karmelo Anthony mic'd up for a football tournament for Carolina Sports District on YouTube. Now, Anthony and Metcalf, they were both football stars at their high schools. Metcalf was actually taking some pretty big recruiting visits, and he planned to play at the next level. Anthony also posted on social media that he was receiving scholarship offers, and he planned to play college football. So, you know a little bit more about them now. And you have this rainy day at a track meet, and people were looking for cover from the rain. So Anthony goes under Metcalf's tent, according to police, and at some point, the two of them get into a confrontation.
Hunter. See how they leaving out Hunter?
Metcalf told
See how they leaving out Hunter? He got into the argument with Hunter. With Hunter. They're constantly leaving out Hunter. On purpose.
To leave his team's tent. And at that point, Anthony allegedly reached into his bag and said something along the lines of, "Make me." Now here is what Austin
He said what?
Told WFAA.
See how he I can't watch him. He's a deceiver. He said what?
Leave his team's tent. And at that point, Anthony allegedly reached into his bag and said something along the lines of, "Make me." Now here is what Austin's
he missed
twin
out the
brother
whole.
told WFAA.
They missed it. See how they missing parts? He started it.
Before I knew his name now.
This is the one who started it. This is the one who started it. And see what has been happening is y'all been bullying. Been bullying. Double teaming people. And for the most part, y'all have been getting away with it. This time, you lured your brother into something that cost him his life. Let's go.
This kid is sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move." And he's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. And the kid,
Austin grabbed his. So that means when he was talking reckless, he did not have a weapon. When he reckless, yes, he did not have a weapon. Austin grabbed the bag with the weapon in it and put the weapon in his hand. So with all these people saying, oh, no, he came prepared for that. How? He didn't even have it in his hand. He said, so that means the reckless talking that he allegedly was doing, he did that reckless talking before his brother picked up his property. Yeah, let's go.
They asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless.
Without a weapon. Because he didn't have his bag, right? Are we here? Are we on one accord? Can y'all hear? Are we still together? Because I don't see no movement. Are we here? Can you hear me? Give me a one or something. Come on. Because what time is it? Yeah, 12:34. So he did not have a weapon. It wasn't in his hand. It wasn't even in his hand to go in it. Yeah. So you started it. And as your mama said, Austin is the big bully. He always take stuff into his own hands. He's the regulator. Yeah. He's the regulator. Let's go. But let's be clear. You started it, sir.
He started getting aggressive and talking reckless.
To you.
Back. They asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. And he's like, make me move. Also grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could.
Don't stutter. He gave him his backpack and what? Why did he grab his backpack? And why did you turn and leave? Huh? You left your brother hanging. You started it. And you're the reason why your brother's not here. So that's why you skipping over stuff. Let's go.
Reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. And he's like, make me move. Also grabbed his backpack. The kid,
what? Why you stuttering right here? Because this is where you begin to lie. This is when you begin to lie. You didn't say nothing about the push. You didn't say nothing about none of that.
And talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. And he's like, make me move.
Step to him.
Grabbed his backpack.
His brother stepped to him. Step to him. What does step to him mean, y'all? Come on now. Somebody stepped to him. He wasn't he wasn't trying to unalive nobody. Yeah. He wasn't trying to do that. I can't get past that.
The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see.
You turned around as fast as you could, and you couldn't see. So how are you testifying to anything? Because you turned and ran on your brother.
The stab.
Police say Metcalf.
He turned and ran. He didn't see nothing. So all that he saw his brother, you didn't see shit. You turned and ran. Why did you run? From him getting the bag, Austin picking up his bag, and did he give it to him? What? You can't even say what your brother did. Did he chunk it? Did he push the bag? What did he do? Did he politely give it to him? Here you go, man. Go ahead and leave. Yeah, no.
Make me move. Also grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see.
You turned and looked away. Why? Why would he turn away and his brother was about to book? Or was you turning to be an eye on the lookout while your brother did whatever he was gonna do when he grabbed his bag and shoved him, hit him. And both of y'all was standing there.
The stab.
Police say Metcalf then went to move Anthony from under the tent. And
So he gave him his bag. He picked up his property. That's theft. That's theft. Some people say it's robbery. So you pick up his bag where a state, whatever, a weapon was there. So he did not have it on him, right? It was in his bag that was sitting there minding his own business. You were so aggressive, approached this young man, said, get on from around here. He was like, make me. Well, who the fuck are you? You know, who died and made you the tip master of security? What are we doing? He grabbed his bag and said, the N-word, I'm sure, but get your ass from over here, and shoved the bag in it. Then you gave him permission to go in his motherfucking bag because you picked it up and you gave it to him. You chucked it at him. And then you went to remove him. So you put hands on him. Karen. Karen. Oh, no. Then he went to remove him. This still should be self-defense, even with all white people.
He's a move. He's like, make me move. Also grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab.
Police say Metcalf then went to move Anthony from under the tent. And at that point, Karmelo...
Had Anthony touched you? Had Karmelo Anthony touched him? And the bag. You grabbed his bag. You told him to leave. He said, make me. You grabbed his bag. Now all this right here. Now I'm gonna be honest. If they was someplace else, it probably would have been already a fight. It probably could have even been a fight before he grabbed the bag to give him the weapon. You said, here, I know it's a weapon. He didn't say that, but I'm just saying. He didn't have it. It was sitting on the bleachers. You picked his shit up. Why? Why? And then on top of that, there were other people from different schools up under the tent in the rain. So you gonna put him in the rain. Then you gonna pick him up or push him out. You touched him. Yeah, I was threatened. I'm threatened now. Yeah, I'm threatened now.
Anthony allegedly pulls out a knife and...
I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab.
Police say Metcalf then went to move Anthony from under the tent. And at that point, Karmelo Anthony allegedly pulls out a knife and stabs Metcalf in the chest. Metcalf died in his twin brother's arms. Now, what Anthony allegedly did next could be very critical in this trial. So Anthony allegedly ran to another part of the track after stabbing Metcalf.
Linebackers or something like that.
The first officer to make contact with Anthony wrote in the arrest report that he asked Anthony to put his hands in the air. Then Anthony allegedly said, quote, I was protecting myself. The officer also said that Anthony told him, quote, he put his hands on me. And when the officer said he had Anthony in custody, the teen allegedly said, quote, I'm not alleged, I did it. Police say Karmelo Anthony ditched the knife and ran before he was arrested by officers who noted in their reports that Anthony was hysterically crying when he was arrested, and he asked if Metcalf would be okay. Now, a critical piece of evidence in this case also is going to be surveillance footage. It exists. The Frisco Independent School District has video from a camera that was mounted on the stadium where this track meet was happening, and it allegedly captures the moment that Austin Metcalf was killed. Now, the school
from
district
the beginning to the end, it was been Self-defense.
Release a copy of this video to the public, but it allowed a group of reporters in Dallas to see it. WFAA television was one of the stations that got their eyes on this video. And they say the video, it's a wide angle shot of the stadium. And you can somewhat see the incident in the small left corner of the screen. The television station writes, quote, "It's difficult to determine how many people are present or what exactly is happening at the tent." Now, Anthony is expected to argue that he had to stab Austin Metcalf in self-defense. Now, I spoke with Texas attorney Bridget Williams about self-defense cases in Texas and what you have to prove. And she says that Anthony may have an uphill battle making that argument.
But what I would say is that he doesn't necessarily have a very strong argument there for self-defense. Hopefully his defense counsel has something that they're going to be talking about in trial that we haven't heard yet. But based off of just what the law is right now, you have, as self-defense, you have to bring equal force to whatever it is that is assaulting you or that you are presented with. So if someone is pushing you, you don't necessarily have the liberty to go back and shoot them with a gun or stab them.
No, we didn't say go back. We're not talking about go back. We're talking about right there where the incident was happening. Sister girl, don't add to it. About he didn't go back. No, he stood his ground right there where he was being attacked. He didn't run to the bleachers to the gym and come back with the bag and stood his ground. He stood it right there where he was being attacked. So stop that. Talking about going back. Going back for what? It was right there.
So if someone is pushing you, you don't necessarily have the liberty to go back and shoot them with a gun or stab them with a knife, right?
You hear how she said go back?
For pushing would be back with your hands.
It's
right?
two.
That is equal force.
Not with two people.
And so it rises above equal force for what we would consider for self-defense on paper.
Don't put your hands on me.
I run a podcast.
Don't put
no
your
producer,
hands on me.
No editor, no tech skills, just Riverside.
Don't put your hands on me. Everybody keep their hands to
Now, at the same
themselves.
time, you have Karmelo Anthony allegedly telling police that he felt threatened. And the prosecution is going for first-degree murder in this case, meaning they believe this was premeditated.
Yes, I think that's a great point, and those are the issues and the matters that the defense counsel will be raising, because those things are up to interpretation, right? And that's what's best for a trial setting. So again, on paper, it's supposed to be equal force, but when you move forward to a trial, the defense counsel is going to be discussing how he felt that this was in fact equal. This was the reason why he felt that he needed to do this in order to save his life, or why he felt it was necessary in order for him to walk away alive. So he had to do this, otherwise he didn't feel like he would have been able to walk away.
Anthony was initially held on $1 million bond. But then the judge in this case, less than 2 weeks after Karmelo Anthony was arrested, lowered his bond to $250,000, and Karmelo Anthony was able to make that. So he has been out of jail as this case has moved forward to a trial. This is video per WFAA of Anthony walking free. He has been required to wear a GPS monitor and be on house arrest, and he's also had to check in with the court weekly since he posted that bond.
I'm not a fighter, so don't
was
touch
lowered,
me. Yeah.
It took the attention surrounding this case, frankly, the tension surrounding this case to a new
Don't
level.
put your hands
the
on me.
judge in this case received threats online. You have had people, both supporters of Karmelo Anthony, but also supporters of Austin Metcalf, going at each other online. We are expecting to see demonstrations outside the courthouse for this trial. And in the wake of his release from jail last year, Karmelo Anthony's family held a news conference talking about how they had been the victim of threats. This is Karmelo's mom per KDFW.
In wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about.
Now, one thing I remember from that news conference is not just the tension of people who are looking at this case and they have an opinion about what happened, but also there has been a lot of tension between the families of Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf.
He said he
Our
forgived
family
him.
has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about.
Now, one thing I remember from that news conference is not just the tension of
Y'all get the likes up. It's 2 hours in. Get the likes up. Double tap the face of your phone or hit those 3 dots at the top right corner. Now. I'll wait. Come on, get the likes up. I'm waiting on the lights to get up. Oh, yeah, let the people leave who don't want to hit the like button. Okay. I'm getting ready for bed. Yeah, let them leave. They can't hit the like
people
button.
who are looking
Hi,
at this
April. I
case
have
and they
no
have an
idea
opinion
if I
about what
like.
happened. But also there has
Go to the
been
three
a lot
dots.
of tension
It'll take you
between the
to
families of Karmelo Anthony and
where the
Austin
thumbs
Metcalf. But
up and thumbs
certainly,
down
when
is,
you
and you'll
think of
know
the
then.
stakes of this case, when you think of the life that was lost, you understand that. But at that same news conference, Jeff Metcalf, who is Austin's dad, showed up and stood in front of cameras in sunglasses until he had to be escorted out. This is per KTVT. Now, but at that same news, they have an opinion about what happened. But also there has been a lot of tension between the families of Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf.
Gas
But
is
certainly,
$85
when you
per
think of the stakes of this case, when you think
gallon,
of the life
and
that was lost,
will
you
go
understand
up
that. But
overnight. Please
at
get
that
the
same
lights
news
up.
conference, Jeff Metcalf,
Please get
who is
out of
Austin's dad,
here with me.
showed up and stood in front of cameras in sunglasses until he had to be escorted out. This is per KTVT. Now, all of this took place last year. The death of Austin Metcalf, this news conference, the posting of the bond. But now here in 2026, we're on the verge of a divisive and potentially explosive trial getting underway.
If you pee when you sneeze, you have to start using this. This is a thigh master, but it's also a pelvic floor trainer. It sounds super 80s.
Join us now outside the courthouse in Collin County, Texas, where this trial is slated to take place. Cody Thomas from Court TV. Always good to see you, Cody. Thanks for being with us. There's been a lot of talk about a lot of the tension in the community surrounding this case going back to last year. And I know there's some tight restrictions as far as what we can do as media when it comes to covering this case and what type of access there's going to be. You're outside the courthouse. I know jury selection's going on. Just set the mood for us. Like, what does it look like out there right now?
Yeah, Chris, always great to be with you, my friend. It's a lot slower than I expected here today. Of course, it is a jury selection day, and it is a little early in the morning. But we haven't seen many demonstrators. In fact, as I'm looking now, I only see maybe 5 to 7 of them starting to congregate away from the courthouse, maybe about 100 yards or so away from the courthouse, because, again, they've set a bunch of rules because of how emotionally charged this case is and how impactful it is to this community down here for both sides, each party, Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. Of course, you know, the blatant optics of the case here. We have a young black kid stabbing a young white kid, so that automatically across this country causes, you know, some polarization among the people who have taken this case in, and of course that has brought about this tension here. But the judge has laid down some ground rules inside this courtroom. I mean, you can't bring in any electronics, we can't live stream it, you can't record anything. Even us as media can be in the courtroom, but we can only have electronics for note-taking purposes. You can't wear any clothing that suggests any sentiment toward either side. The judge really laying down the law out here, and there's barricades around some of the courthouse steps. But again, Chris, out here, it's pretty slow today. There's no sign of Karmelo or Austin Metcalf's family right now, but I'm sure we'll get some more of that as this week picks up, as opening statements are expected to get underway tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and I mean, I just remember back to when Karmelo Anthony's bond was brought down to $250,000. He was able to post that. He's been on house arrest, and he's been on a GPS monitor ever since. But the judge had received threats as well. I mean, there's just so much of this case that has played out kind of in the internet world, along political lines. There's a lot of dynamics, and it's going to be interesting to see if any of that actually makes its way into the courtroom. I know you talked about the jury selection process, which is going on right now, opening statements potentially slated for tomorrow, but there's like a lot of potential jurors that they're going to be going through in this trial.
Absolutely, Chris. I actually just found out about a half hour ago. I mean, they said they started with a pool of about 600 potential jurors, and I can imagine how much of a tall task that it could be to try to find an impartial jury. I mean, as many headlines as this case has garnered, and how politically charged it's become, how racially charged it's become, people have their opinions on things like this. I mean, we see it every day when we turn the TV on. And now I've learned that they've whittled down from 600 down to about 250. That's what the media liaison told me inside the courtroom. I was in there for about an hour earlier before coming back out here. He was giving me kind of a rundown of where we are. Of course, jury selection started 2 days ago on Monday, and now we're here on Wednesday. And he says if things go as expected, if they're able to get that impartial jury and seat one today, opening statements expected tomorrow. But who knows? It could bleed into tomorrow with jury selection. It could bleed into the rest of this week. I mean, we've seen jury selections last for multiple days, weeks at a time in certain cases that we've covered here, Court TV and Law and Crime. So, but they are trying to stay on schedule and get those opening statements done or started by tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about how many people they are going through, and just the process to get down to that small amount will eventually determine how this trial goes. Just from the people right now, I know you talked about just about 5 to 7 people outside the courthouse, and potentially, especially when you think of opening statements, I mean, there could be a lot of people just with all the tension that we've been talking about related to this case. But what are you seeing out there right now, just as far as like these protesters, potentially, supporters, whoever they may be, of what they're doing?
Yeah, so I'm looking over, as I look to my right over here now, it seems like the crowd's grown to maybe 10, 12, maybe going on 15 people. It looks like I see some signage that may say Black Lives Matter, so I assume they're in support of Karmelo's side of what's going on. I haven't seen any other protest groups, but I did learn from one of the media outlets that was here earlier this week that there was a demonstration for people in support of Karmelo, and then there was a demonstration for people in support of Austin Metcalf's family and that side of the situation. And he was saying that, this earlier this week, a couple days ago,
you, Janet.
that the tension seemed a little high and that he thought something might happen out here. I don't know if they were yelling back at each other, but he said one side had a megaphone. He said he went to talk to some of them. They talked briefly, and then somebody came up and cut them off and said, yeah, we're not talking to anybody. So, of course, the emotions, just the polarization, Chris. But right now what I'm seeing, not much going on outside of that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Those 10 or 15 people as I look around. Again, it's a slow day, but it is also early in the day as well. That's not to say that later this afternoon it could ramp up and pick up.
They make people violent. Keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hands to yourself. You never know the outcome. You never know how it's going to end. Keep your hands to yourself.
As I look around, again, it's a slow day, but it is also early in the day as well. That's not to say that later this afternoon it could ramp up and pick up once people start getting off work or on their lunch hour or what have you. But right now it's still a little slow here outside the Collin County Courthouse.
Yeah, and you just wonder too what the security is going to look like, as well as those crowds grow there in Collin County. Going to the facts of the case as we know them at this point, the allegations to this point, and again, Karmelo Anthony is facing a charge of first-degree murder in this case, and there could be, if found guilty, a very serious sentence. And it's always, I kind of just go back and think, both of them were on track to graduate. Both of them had plans, going beyond high school, and then you have this track meet, and I keep thinking, imagine if there just wasn't that rainstorm that day, just that brief storm that then kind of put this track meet to a stop. Where would we be today? And I know that that's a question we'll never know the answer to, and it is what it is. But as far as the narrative that's been laid out of what happened at this track meet and how we got to this point, what stands out to you?
Yeah, Chris, just walking people back through it that may not know, just painting the scene in a brief nutshell here. You had, if you've ever been to a track meet, you have multiple teams that are kind of on the same side of the bleachers. And honestly, whether rain or shine, people set up tents anyway because the sun is beating down so hard. But you have multiple schools, and for some reason, unbeknownst to anyone, Karmelo Anthony was under the tent for Austin Metcalf's school. Karmelo and Austin did not go to the same school, to which, young guys, they're 17 years old, seniors in high school, the testosterone gets flowing. Austin says, hey, Karmelo, get out from under our tent. Not knowing exactly how he said that. We don't know how exactly that phrasing went, but pretty much trying to get Karmelo out from under the tent. We don't know why Karmelo was there. Apparently, a verbal scuffle started, and eyewitnesses, some students there who saw things went down, say at some point they saw Karmelo reach into his book bag and hold his hand into his book bag and say something to the effect of, touch me and see what happens. To which Austin Metcalf was like, all right, and he goes to shove the kid, and then Karmelo pulls out a knife and stabs him in the chest, and then Austin Metcalf dies in his brother's arms there in the bleachers.
In
Karmelo
his
runs
brother's
off,
arms. Y'all see how they painted? Oh my God.
The kid, but he, of course, is claiming
I think he's going to get
so it's just a sad
sentence
situation all around. But one of the questions that stands out to me, Chris, my mom was an educator, so I'm very familiar with, how rules at schools work. The one question is,
she went to somebody's apartment
have a knife,
intentionally and shot.
On school grounds.
How can you compare it to Amber Geiger?
So I'm pretty sure that's going to be a really damaging fact.
Amber went into someone's apartment for loud music, she says, with the gun pointed. No, absolutely not. No, it's another kid. I need to remember his name. Go back to my old video. Some Rodriguez, I think. young guy in the country in Texas. Yeah, he's more similar to that one, but that kid already had a record. Yeah. No, not Amber. She went into somebody's apartment and killed an innocent person. He didn't put his hands on him. He didn't grab her. He didn't do anything. Austin Metcalf, Hunter started it. Austin came in roughing, trying to rough somebody up, picked up his merchandise without permission, and pushed him, shoved him, tried to remove him from up under the tent. Yeah, he had ill intent. He was premeditated. But it just so happened that him being premeditated or his premeditation cost him his life. Now we gonna call a spade a spade. We gonna stop pussyfooting around the facts. The fact is he was the aggressor. He was the bully. And the bully this time lost his life. He wasn't measuring, okay, where your heart at? You know, he stabbed him in the chest to get somebody up off of him, and it just so happened, it was unfortunately, he lost his life.
Explain that part of it once this trial gets underway, but that's what stood out to me about this entire narrative here. But again, like you were saying, two young men on track to graduate. If that rainstorm hadn't happened, if Karmelo wasn't under that tent, if this verbal altercation didn't happen, these men were going to go off and likely do great things with their lives. But
right.
Now we're both stuck here. One kid is gone.
If he had not put his hand on his bag, had not put his hands on Karmelo Anthony, they would have both been able to go off and do great things. He didn't just go and stab him for no reason. He touched him. He put his hands on him. That's called stand your ground. Everybody keep their hands to themselves.
And one kid's liberty is at stake here as far as being behind bars for the rest of his life. So just sad all around for these two young men and their families, of course.
Yeah, it's just an incredibly tragic case. And I know just from like when it happened that there is some surveillance video from the stadium itself, but according to the local media that looked at it, you don't really see a lot. And it's going to be interesting, especially for his defense, of like, how do you paint this narrative? You know, if it's a self-defense argument.
I just painted it.
Can you...
Let me paint it. I can paint it well. It's simple. It's simple. Y'all, you guys are making it difficult. He shouldn't have touched him. He shouldn't have touched the bag. He gave him the bag where the weapon was by picking up his shit. He should have left it alone. It wasn't his place to pick it up and try to put somebody out. And you got a whole nother twin here. He only ran when he saw what happened. He left his brother. He abandoned his brother. He didn't die in his arms. His brother ran. Yeah, we're not going to sugarcoat it and paint a pretty picture. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty when he grabbed his bag. It wasn't pretty at any time he put his hands on it. That never works out good. Never.
You know, get a jury to believe that his life was in danger. But to your point, I think the big question
he felt like it was with them two big old guys. Y'all get the likes of. Quit asking why. Why did he touch him? Hold on. Please get the likes up. Oh, well, hold on.
hadn't happened, if Karmelo wasn't under that tent, if this verbal altercation didn't happen, these men were going to go off and likely do great things with their lives. But now we're both stuck here. One kid is gone, of course, and one kid's liberty is at stake here as far as being behind bars for the rest of his life. So just sad all around for these two young men and their families, of course.
Yeah, it's just an incredibly tragic case. And I know just from like when it happened that there is some surveillance video from the stadium itself, but according to the local media that looked at it, you don't really see a lot. And it's going to be interesting, especially for his defense, of like, how do you paint this narrative? You know, if it's a self-defense argument, can you get a jury to believe that his life was in danger? But to your point, I think the big question that so many people are going to have, and I think about the jurors who will eventually be in that box, it's like, why did you have a knife at a track meet? And I just feel like, how do you get to the point where you answer that question?
The Tai Chi walking program for seniors is available for free until this summer.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like that's going to be the crux of the whole case, because, young men for decades, as dawn of time, have gotten in fights. I mean,
yes.
You and I went to school. We've probably seen a couple of fights ourselves, of course, but I never seen a fight among teenagers where knives were involved or, deadly weapons were involved. And especially on school grounds. I'm sure it probably happens somewhere, but typically I'd imagine that'd be off school grounds.
You didn't hit the like button coming in, Junior?
Anything like that.
Come
not
on, man.
Or anything, but it's just how are they going to explain it? I feel like that's going to be what tilts the jury, no matter what other facts come out, and especially to your point as well, Chris. If there's video, of course we haven't seen the video.
Oh, I'm gonna go.
In this case,
Junior didn't even hit the like button.
It started going into litigation about a year ago. If there's surveillance that really shows Karmelo as kind of the aggressor here, I don't know how that narrative is going to get painted.
What you say?
No, 100%. And
how they gonna what?
It started going into litigation about a year ago. If there's surveillance that really shows Karmelo as kind of the aggressor here, I don't know how that narrative is going to get painted.
Yeah, but he wasn't the aggressor.
Yeah, no.
He was not the aggressor. Somebody stepped to him. Hunter said he stepped to him. So how is he the aggressor?
100%. And you think, too, the witnesses in the area where all of this took place, this was Austin Metcalf's team that was under this tent. And you wonder how many witnesses are going to come up who will testify at this trial. We'll see what happens. They still have a long way to go, to your point. I mean, if they have 250 jurors now, and we're going to whittle things down to 12, maybe get some alternates as well. And then we'll see if opening statements happen tomorrow. Stay safe out there, Cody. With these cases, I know you get in there and make sure that you get the story from all sides.
Yeah, I'm gonna get ready to go. All right, thank you. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I'll see y'all tomorrow. We're gonna see how it starts and how it ends. Peace out.